Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into the deep end, exploring the theology of the unseen. We'll be looking at ancient manuscripts and esoteric traditions to understand a hidden reality that, for billions of people, operates right alongside our own. We're going to explore the origins of the jinn, the cosmic rebellion of Iblis, and how all these ancient concepts plug straight into a kind of spiritual dark web of forbidden knowledge. Okay, let's dive right into this. Because, to really grasp the human story, according to these accounts, we actually have to look at what was happening before humans even existed. These ancient manuscripts suggest the Earth definitely wasn't empty before mankind. It was populated, governed, and ultimately completely corrupted by an entirely different pre-human civilization.
To truly grasp how intimately these unseen forces are believed to interact with us, just listen to this eerily profound ancient hadith. The shaitan flows through the son of Adam like blood. Think about that for a second. We're not just talking about some monster hiding in the closet here. This establishes a deeply biological intimacy. It's an unseen threat navigating the very pathways of human consciousness and desire.
So who exactly were these original inhabitants? Well, Islamic theology defines them as the jinn. The word itself in Arabic basically means something concealed or hidden from view. But here is the absolutely crucial difference. Unlike angels, who are made of light and literally don't have the capacity to disobey, the jinn were created from pure, smokeless fire. The texts often call it marij, the strongest, purest part of the flame. And, just like us humans, they possess intellect and free will. They can totally choose to do good, or they can choose to do evil.
These ancient accounts actually lay out this massive cosmic chronology. 2,000 years before the first human, Adam, even stepped onto the earth, the jinn were here. They built whole societies. But over time, a sickness crept in. Unchecked ambition, fueled by pride, led the strong to completely crush the weak. The earth basically turned into this bloody arena of constant war. Because the corruption got so extreme, angelic forces had to intervene, driving the rebellious jinn to the remote corners of the world. And it was right in the aftermath of that total societal collapse that a new Khalifa, a new successor, was announced: humanity.
This really brings us to a fascinating elemental duality. On one hand, you have the jinn, created from smokeless fire. They're light, volatile, subtle, and able to move incredibly fast while remaining completely unseen. On the other hand, you have humans, created from clay. We're heavy, grounded, rooted in water and mud. It's this profound physical and spiritual contrast, right? The untethered, chaotic energy of fire versus the dense, solid reality of earth.
Now, amidst all this history, one figure really stands out: Azazel, who we later come to know as Iblis or Satan. What's actually mind-blowing here is that he wasn't always the villain. Far from it. He was a jinn of such extreme devotion and worship that he was actually elevated into the heavens to live among the angels. The ancient mystic Mansur al-Hallaj even described him as Majnun, which means absolutely crazy with loving devotion to the divine. But that intense devotion is exactly what makes his impending fall so incredibly tragic.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact turning point. It happens when a divine command is given to bow down to the newly created human, Adam. The angels, who don't have free will, they prostrate themselves immediately. But Iblis, he refuses. He actively uses his free will to say no.
When he's asked what prevented him from bowing, Iblis gives an answer that scholars often call the literal birth of arrogance. Some even call it the very first expression of racism. He says, "I am better than he. You created me from fire, and him you created from clay." He's using this completely flawed philosophical logic, basically deciding that the volatile, rising nature of fire is inherently superior to heavy, grounded dirt. He completely misses the point of the divine command. Because of this ultimate pride, Iblis is cast out. His beauty is stripped away, and he becomes the cursed shaitan. But then he makes a terrifying request. He asks for a delay, for time until the day of resurrection. And once he gets it, he vows this massive cosmic vengeance. He literally promises to ambush humanity from 4 directions: from their front, their back, their right, and their left. He takes his own massive failure and transforms it into a universal war, specifically aiming to exploit that brand new gift of free will humans were just granted.
So with this whole cosmic war declared, we really have to ask ourselves, what exactly is a jinn? I want you to completely forget the whole blue genie granting wishes in Hollywood movies. Actually, just scratch that entirely. If we want to understand these ancient entities, we have to look strictly at what the theology claims they are.
Let's start by debunking a few major misconceptions. First off, jinn are not the spirits of dead humans. So when a psychic claims they're talking to your dearly departed relative, the theology argues that it's actually just a jinn mimicking the deceased. Second, they are definitely not fallen angels. This is a huge point. Iblis is explicitly named in the Quran as being from the jinn. Remember, angels physically cannot disobey. And third, they're not all inherently evil or demonic. Just like us, they have the free will to be completely righteous or terribly wicked. Now, what's really interesting about this is how completely mundane their existence actually is. It's literally a hidden, parallel society operating right alongside our own. They eat, they sleep, they need shelter, they form societies, barter for goods, and have arguments that can escalate into full-blown wars. They've even practiced different religions. Some are believers, some are disbelievers. And, maybe most importantly, they experience mortality. They don't live forever, they die, just like we do.
Within this hidden world, there's a very clear hierarchy. You might have heard the term Ifrit. An Ifrit is an immensely strong, powerful jinn perfectly suited for heavy, seemingly impossible tasks. Like in the ancient texts where one offers to teleport the Queen of Sheba's entire throne in the blink of an eye. Contrast that heavy lifting power with a shaitan. That term refers specifically to the arrogant, rebellious, and evil entities. And esoteric traditions point out that a shaitan can actually be either jinn or human. It basically just denotes a nature of pure, toxic rebellion.
This brings us into the incredibly murky waters of how these unseen entities intersect with human occult practices. The Quran specifically warns us to seek protection from the evil of those who blow on knots. This verse is a direct reference to magic and the subtle manipulation of physical and spiritual ties. In fact, the mystic Ibn Arabi associated the realm of the jinn with the Arabic name al-Latif, meaning the subtle, because their manipulation is so hidden, tenuous, and deeply deceptive. This is where ancient theology crashes headfirst into modern dark magic. Modern grimoires and occult texts talk about accessing what they call the qlipothotic spheres of the Tree of Death. Think of it as a literal spiritual dark web. Magicians actively attempt to tap into these blind reservoirs of chaotic energy and forbidden knowledge. They willingly open gateways to interact with these negative, destructive, and frankly, demonic forces. But here's the catch. This occult knowledge is largely a total illusion. Magicians and fortune-tellers really believe the jinn possess ultimate supernatural knowledge of the unseen. But the esoteric literature explains the actual mechanics. Rebellious jinn ascend to the lowest heavens to basically eavesdrop on the angels. They manage to steal a tiny fragmented piece of cosmic news. But before they pass it down to a human magician, they mix that one little truth with 1,000 lies. It's basically a transaction of absolute deceit, traded purely for human allegiance.
So the crucial point is how heavily this ancient lore influences modern practitioners. Just look at figures like Aleister Crowley and the broader Western occult fascination with these darker currents. A lot of these movements, sometimes completely knowingly, sometimes not, tap directly into the archetype of Iblis. They celebrate the rebellion, they celebrate the refusal to bow to orthodox authority, and they construct these wildly complex rituals to engage with the exact same unseen, chaotic energies described thousands of years ago in Middle Eastern antiquity. But despite all the spooky lore, the grimoires, and the horror movies, these esoteric traditions emphasize that the true battlefield is entirely within us. These demonic forces do not have unlimited supernatural power. They can't just throw cars around or levitate you. Their influence relies strictly on subtle, psychological manipulation. They target our deepest human desires, our grief, our everyday vulnerabilities. They operate through whispers. So true protection isn't found in magic spells. It's grounded in mindfulness, spiritual stability, and a really firm grasp on your own moral compass.
Which brings up the ultimate question. Why would such a system exist in the first place? The underlying theology offers this profoundly philosophical answer. Free will requires an enemy. For human beings to grow, to rise up, and to truly exercise the gift of choice, there has to be a struggle. Something has to be pulling you down, so that your choice to reach upward actually means something. Iblis, in all his cosmic rage, basically becomes the ultimate, necessary tool for testing humanity's freedom. Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. We've explored this hidden world of smokeless fire, cosmic rebellion, and a literal spiritual dark web of manipulation. But if the ultimate power of these unseen entities lies not in physical force, but in the subtle whispers injected right into our minds, the next time you feel a sudden surge of irrational anger, unchecked pride, or destructive desire,
Who is truly making your choices? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and stay curious.